Hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the gov't No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is bipcot.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is almost always, usually, mostly hypothetical.
It's for entertainment purposes only.
And even if it wasn't, nobody listens to us anyway.
So. Yeah, don't drone us, bro.
Hashtag don't drone me, bro.
Don't drone me, bro. No. Happy anniversary, guys. Well, technically, it's tomorrow's the anniversary of my lockdowns, but yeah, we're starting the 1 year celebration of the 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
As my patch says, welcome to Operation Enduring Clusterfuck, COVID-19.
Yes.
Yep. When did Wisconsin... Let's see. Wisconsin lockdown started...
I want to say it was the first part of April.
That's what I feel like it was.
Yep. Mine was March 15th. It was a Friday. And in my Facebook memories today, there's actually photos that my brother sent me from the grocery store showing the empty toilet paper towel section, and then all the sugar, the empty sugar section, and then the empty rice and pasta section. So,
I remember saying it's looking through my Facebook memories a year ago where I said, "Is the coronavirus just a big marketing scheme from Procter and Gamble for their?" Is that what this is? Because it seems like that's what this is.
Yeah, remember we were joking about people getting anal swabs.
Yeah,
I do remember
joke
that.
about that, and now that's actually a thing.
If I remember correctly, the Chinese recently did that to the U.S. embassy.
to a U.S. ambassador. Oh, sorry, it was our bad. We shouldn't have done that.
We're gonna sodomize you with this giant Q-tip.
Wait a minute, this isn't a meeting. This is legal sex.
It's got a head on it and everything.
Oh.
How do you accidentally get anal? I mean, I feel like that's something you'd notice.
I mean, like the emperor, the person bows, the ambassador bows, someone goes, "Whoop, surprise!" Like I can at least kind of understand that, but
how do you mistakenly get anal swabbed? Like I don't think it's plausible that was a mistake.
Somebody went for the pap smear, hit a poop smear.
Yeah, like what do you? Like what were you in an airport bathroom and you're like, wait a minute, I'm getting tested for COVID.
So this one time at a frat party, right?
The glory hole that's the glory hole in the men's room. Yeah, you're supposed to turn around and back up to it instead of face up.
Oh, this is why we're never being invited to the White House.
Among many reasons. Never a dull moment, though, at least.
Yeah, so it looks like March. I was looking through stuff from the MacIver Institute, March 3rd through 9th. I don't think we were locked down by then.
No, I want to say because it was the 14th, May 14th, that the Supreme Court struck it down because the governor's authority only was good for so long.
Yeah,
30,
well,
it was
30 days or something like that, right?
actually,
so
I think it was 60.
No, so is emergency order number 1 or executive order number 104 from Governor Evers was January 19th. That lasted 60 days. It gave the National Guard the power to respond to the spread of the virus. That was 60 days until March 20th. But that wasn't actually a full-on lockdown. Emergency order 1 was also done on the 19th. That was the mask mandate
That nobody listened to.
Yeah. And then he had another one declaring an additional state of emergency for another 60 days on November 20th of 2020.
He had one. There was another one here. Where the hell is it?
September 22nd, there was one. October 1st, there was one. October 6th, there was one. July 30th, there was one. My God. Like, I didn't realize. Okay,
Emergency Order 28 by Andrea Palm. That's what we're looking for. Palms extended the order issued before Evers' first stay-at-home edict was set to expire April 24th. Criminalize what are generally constitutionally protected activities: free travel, operating a business, attending church, among other such lockdown crimes. That's according to outgoing Justice Daniel Kelly. That's the point he drove home during the oral arguments.
Yeah.
So it would have been April or March 24th.
Yeah, which is
it was a 30-day order.
Yeah, which is March 24th, so that would be like almost 6 weeks after mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that got fought here because Evers didn't have the kind of support that your governor
he thought
had.
he did.
Yeah, Governor Newsom.
Yeah.
So
and Evers was operating on the false belief that his winning the governorship from Scott Walker was some sort of a mandate that he had the power and blah 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 blah, whereas the state legislature had other plans. I mean,
so all right. So let's get into this first article then, since we're at that point now. This is a op-ed we're gonna have a lot of fun with on CNN Business by Mark Zandi. Mark Zandi is chief economist of Moody's Analytics. Andrew almost spit beer.
Economics. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So this is from the 10th, so it's before the latest stimulus economic crash orientation bill. So okay, so 1 year after it began, the COVID-19 pandemic nightmare is nearly over. With millions of Americans getting vaccinated each day and the imminent passage of the massive American Rescue Plan, we are starting to approach herd immunity, and in a couple of months, the economy will enjoy rip-roaring growth.
Real quick, what the hell does that gigantic barrel of pork have to do with anything?
What did it break down like was it not 1.9 trillion divided by like 330 million people come up to like $5,757 each?
Yep.
Yeah. But like 10 million people are getting like $1,400. So woo.
Yeah, woo.
Yeah, barring any other major unforeseen circumstances, we should be back to full strength within a couple of years.
I'm sure glad that we took those 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and in only a couple more years, we'll be back to normal.
This 180-degree turn in our collective financial fortune is due in significant part to the overwhelming response of the federal government to the economic pain inflicted by the pandemic.
What?
What?
Hold on.
There was a lot of words.
I'll read that again.
There was a lot of
This
words salad there.
This 180-degree turn in our collective financial fortune is due in significant part to the overwhelming response of the federal government to the economic pain inflicted by the pandemic.
It wasn't inflicted by the fucking pandemic. It was inflicted by the fucking federal government, you nonc. What?
Actually, let's be fair. It was inflicted by the majority of the states because the federal government took the hands-off approach and said, you do what you need to do. We're going to support you. And then places like California and Wisconsin and et cetera, well, fucking Michigan and New York and all those places went into full-on lockdown mode.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, hey, magically, the economies of those states ran into a fucking brick wall.
It's almost like when you prohibit a bunch of people from being able to do business that maybe it might hurt the economy.
What?
That can't.
What? You mean the economy only works if people buy and sell and gather and actually use services?
Yeah, apparently that's a revolutionary idea, I know, but
you can't just build rocking chairs in your garage and have people and have the government give you money for your efforts. Right? Like I spent like 15 hours per chair.
Like blasphemy, man. That sounds like some blasphemy.
Do you know how much effort I put into building this? It's going to be worth a large amount of money because of that, right?
Yes. I sanded really slowly. Okay. This next sentence, it's hard. The Federal Reserve used its arsenal of tools to keep the economy afloat.
What? Do you know what any of those words mean?
He's an economist. He has to know what they mean, right? Right?
Well, Barack Obama was a constitutional scholar. Just saying.
In about the same vein as this guy is an economist. I mean,
exactly. My God.
Okay. The Federal Reserve used its arsenal of tools to keep the economy afloat. It responded within days of the first infections last March by slashing interest rates. It only took 2 weeks for the federal funds rate, the key short-term interest rate to the Fed controls, to hit nearly zero. Next, the Fed revived its financial crisis-era quantitative easing program to buy hundreds of millions of dollars of Treasury and mortgage-backed bonds and bring down long-term interest rates. It worked. Mortgage rates, which had spiked as the pandemic struck, quickly declined.
He's a QE believer.
Yes.
Man, it's got to be, speaking of anal swabs, him and Krugman.
The Fed also immediately erected a firewall between the pandemic-induced economic chaos and the financial system. It stood up an array of credit facilities, commitments by the Fed to purchase everything from commercial paper and corporate bonds to securities backed by credit cards and auto loans to ensure that credit flowed uninterrupted to businesses, households, and state and local governments.
Is this guy Winston from 1984? Is he working for the Ministry of Truth? That he's just... No, the party has always been in favor of the...
Without this, many businesses likely would have had to shutter operations. Households would likely have had to stop buying cars and even groceries, and municipalities would have likely curtailed essential services.
Well, all of those things happened. Right?
All of those things happened. Like, this guy's credited, oh my God, the government, the Federal Reserve saved us by doing all these things that they used to do with tax income that they took from people that were working and purchasing and selling that they can't do because the government shut down the buying and the purchasing and the selling and the working.
Money printer go burr.
Is this like has I mean, are we?
It's not even like a burr. It's not even the money printer doesn't go burr. It doesn't sound like a regular printer. It sounds like the tracks on a fucking bulldozer. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
The clank, 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 clank. That's the money printer.
But it's printing at the rate at which the A10 Warthog.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go. Is it's the A10 Warthog's Vulcan cannon?
It's clank, 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 but it sounds more like.
It's just
what was
hundreds
it like?
of thousands of dollars.
What was it like 43% or 47% of all money created by the United States or by the Federal Reserve was created in the last 12 months or something like that? What was that number?
Yeah, we were approaching uncontrollable hyperinflation there for a while. And we haven't really walked back from that much. So, I mean, the idea that the people who were about to utterly and completely destroy the United States economy irreparably are somehow now being lauded by this fuckface as some sort of heroes really speaks to the Soviet propaganda ministry levels of insanity that the media is currently willing to go to try and make the present administration and federal government look good.
Yeah. And it's
well, and I think as much as I hate to give credit to somebody else, this was funny as hell and it's accurate. The only way that Biden should be referred to is, as Ben Shapiro calls him, President Houseplant. Because that's all he's there for, is to cover up the piss stain on the carpet.
There you go. Good bringing him up. Because I want to get into this. Now that we can get back to the article, but I want to bring this up, right? The federal government took a hands-off approach, right, under Trump, right. In regards to the lockdowns and quarantines and all that good stuff. Biden ran on the 100 days, right? That was the thing. 100 days of masks. We'll get this under control. 100 days of mask and lockdowns. We'll get this under control and move on, right? Biden's been in office almost 60 days now, right? Like right at 60 days. There's no federal. And we have states opening up every single day. We have no federal mask mandate. We have no federal lockdowns. Right? So if this virus was as bad as they said, as scary as he and Kamala Harris ran on, why would they allow states to open?
Well, yeah, and I mean, and then when Texas opens up and they drop their mask mandate and everything else, and all these leftists that are just such hardcore state believers,
the Mullen Lab, come and take it with the mask.
Yeah, and it's like no one is threatening to take your mask away from you. You can still wear them, you dumb shit.
Just not required to do so by government edict.
Yeah, no one else is forced to. What plan? I mean, this is the thing too, is remember that at the beginning of all of this, all of these Democrats were freaking out about the fact that Trump and the administration, in the federal government didn't want to force states to do anything. And they were all freaking out like, but you have to tell us what to do. And then when they're like, no, I'm not going to tell you.
They lauded and they attacked Trump for the federal government not doing anything. Mm-hmm. And now the federal government's not doing anything. And they're saying, Mullen Lab, come take our masks.
Well, and it just speaks to the blatant hypocrisy, not just in the modern American left, but in politics in general. I mean, they're going to do whatever is in their best interest, no matter what anybody else says, and they're doing it with the support of their propaganda machine known as the mainstream media, pointing out that they're doing such a wonderful job, even though President Houseplant and his administration are doing the exact same thing that the Trump administration did, and they had viciously attacked him for it.
not only they're doing the exact same thing, they've defended some of Trump's positions
Yeah,
in regards to the tariffs. Like they
and
kept
and
the tariffs in place and
yes,
actually increased
oh,
the tariffs on one or two things.
and the left is applauding this decision
Biden.
because it's Biden doing it, not
Mhm.
the great orange Cheeto.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Biden is keeping in place the hyper tyrannical travel ban, and visa ban that Trump put in place. That is just obscene. Did absolutely nothing but restrict people's movement. Biden is keeping it in place, and I saw an article the other day that was like, "Here's why this makes sense and is a good idea," and I'm like.
No,
Weren't you just weren't you just agreeing with me that this is tyrannical and wrong a year ago? Weren't you
Yep.
just doing that now because your guy supports it? It's suddenly a good idea.
Uh-huh.
Biden administration is opening a migrant housing or migrant facility, whatever you want to call it, overflow facility in Homestead, Florida, that Obama built, that Trump closed, that is actually called a super site because it is polluted and uninhabitable. It was closed because it is so polluted as a former military base, and it is so polluted it is uninhabitable for human use. But
And they're going to put
but
migrants
the
in.
Biden administration is going to open it and put kids in there.
And then it's being celebrated by the media and by the government at large.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I mean, we knew this was coming, but this is the thing. And this is what this article is demonstrating, is that there's just this propaganda machine in full swing now that a hyper statist, hyper leftist guy that's not the great orange one is in power. Like, he's doing exactly the same things that Trump did, which were largely the exact same kind of things that Obama did, which were largely the exact same kind of things that George W. Bush did. But depending on whether it's the left or right that's doing them, the media is either condemning them or celebrating them to such a hysterically oblivious degree that you swear you're in the Soviet Union.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
And not only to kind of go off of that, there are, I mean, I've seen reports where Biden isn't just doing the same things that Trump was doing. He is ramping them up to the Obama era levels because Obama was far more hawkish on it than Trump ever was. And so Biden's ramping back up to the Obama era levels, and they're all going, "This is great." What
number of FDR administrations are we on now? I lost
count.
All right. Back to the article. In the earlier 2008 financial crisis, the Fed was too slow to put facilities and the financial system, or too slow to put up these facilities, and the financial system failed, requiring a government bailout. The Troubled Asset Relief Program, or TARP, took years to get the system back to health. Full recovery was delayed almost a decade. The Fed learned by protecting the financial system from the pandemic's economic fallout. The central bank ensured that this recovery will be a strong one.
What? They're rewriting that much history now?
Oh. You're surprised?
Yes.
I mean, they've got their other media wings and the like Amazon and all that stuff that are literally burning books digitally. So why would this be a surprise to anybody?
Yes. The Fed also made a mistake of increasing rates in 2015 before the economy was back to full employment after the financial crisis. So this 2008, 2009. So this is 6 years after the financial crisis, right? Economy before the economy was back to full employment after the financial crisis. It won't do that again. The Fed has pledged to hold its zero interest rates policy until it is obvious that everyone is back to work. The signal for that will be a strong wage growth, especially for workers with lesser skills and education who have had it toughest during the pandemic. You know why there's You know why there's going to be a wage increase?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So what they're saying is that that when the federal government makes employment at a level below what they approve illegal, then miraculously that means, hey, look, the federal government has saved us again.
Oh, yeah. So there was like, what was it, like 5.5 trillion printed last year, right? There's like already 1.9 printed this year, plus the 1 trillion that in federal deficit that they ran up in the first 5 months. So we're at like $8 trillion, $9 trillion on this in the last year in national deficit. Inflation's going up, you guys. Right? And inflation goes up, prices go up. Oh my God! Wages have to go up to compensate for the raise in prices, which causes prices to again go up, which they demand wages go up. That's why people are making more money. They're not better off. They're not better off. They just have more zeros in the bank account.
Well,
it's that old meme that we see on the internet all the time, where it'll say something and the two sentences just bleed into each other, and round and round and round and round we go.
Yep.
And there's a reason why I did a patch change in the middle of that, where I put my new "Hold on, it gets better" patch on, because that's all this is.
Yeah,
it's the government saying, "Hold on, it gets better," but it never will.
It just and that's the thing is, like, we've been talking about for the past few shows, we've been talking about the Great Reset, and we've been talking about Clord Piven. And if you want to talk about how incredibly obvious this is right now, if you are awake to that, right, the cognizancy of that plan, you can't help but see this as just blatant continuing to march down that path with reckless abandon.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're not even hiding it anymore. It used to be that they would try to
No, they are celebrating it.
They're celebrating it, and it's just, the worst part is the idiots, the zombies are just eating it up.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're at this point.
Yeah, the zombie apocalypse isn't going to be actual undead. It's the mindless drones that the government has trained and churned out.
They are the Borg. Resistance is futile. It's just, I mean, that's the thing is, like, at this point, like, some of these articles that I'm seeing, especially the opinion pieces and stuff, celebrating how fucking wonderful the government is. At this point, like, Obama, never got anything close to this. Bush, even when he got everybody fawning over him.
What was TARP like? TARP was like, what, 795 billion or something like that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
that was like 2009, right? So a decade ago.
Yeah.
Right. It was less than $1 trillion. And I remember us talking about hyperinflation, that not you guys and I, because we were friends then. But I remember talking about hyperinflation on my page, and I remember talking about how there was kind of like this backdoor program to pay off the national debt by printing a $1 trillion coin and then depositing it in the Federal Reserve and all this other BS. But that was like that was less than $1 trillion in 2009, and people were up in arms.
Yeah, exactly. It's that you look at this and you go, okay, well, when Obama pulled this shit, everyone freaked out and went, hey, no, that isn't how economics works. That isn't how this works. You can't do that. And everyone was awake to it. Like, you saw a lot of opinion pieces in Forbes and a lot of other financial publications talking about how dangerous this was, and this was a dangerous path, and this is a bad idea. And now they're celebrating it. I mean, Biden could possibly just go, hey, and now all money is banned and everyone's going to work for free. And people would write articles about why this is a good thing.
You have people waiting in line to get bread. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Venezuela did that too. They had people waiting in line for bread, and they decided it created a bad image, so they banned lines outside the store.
Yeah. I mean, think about that. That is the level that we're at here. Like we're actually at that level where that could be a decision that the Biden administration.
What we covered last week with Krugman saying, too many choices make us less free.
Just
you got wheat bread and white bread. Take your pick.
But I want fucking sourdough, damn it.
That's anti-American to want sourdough. No. That's even though it was invented in San Francisco.
They have such good sourdough bread in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, it's freaking amazing. But like, it's damned un-American to want anything other than just white bread. You don't even get wheat anymore. No. What are you, a communist? No, you. All you get is white bread, and you
should be thankful that it comes sliced.
Yeah. There are people in the world who have to cut their own bread. You ingrate.
All right, back to the article. President Trump and Congress also responded quickly to the pandemic first struck. Congress passed the initial COVID relief package shortly after the first infections. By the end of Trump's presidency, lawmakers had agreed to 5 relief packages, providing financial help to households, small business, healthcare providers, state and local governments, and the struggling airline industry.
They're struggling because of you fuckheads.
Yeah, they're struggling because you wouldn't let anybody travel, assholes.
President Biden and new Congress now set to pass another massive relief package, the American Rescue Plan, which, as we talked about, this article is from the 10th, which is before they passed the relief package. Those packages add up to an astounding figure, well over $5 trillion in federal aid, which the article notes is equal to almost 25% of the nation's pre-pandemic GDP, to help the hard-pressed manage their lives through the pandemic. Stimulus checks, unemployment insurance, food and rental assistance, and other income support going to mostly low-income households have offset many people's wages and salary loss. That's not really true at all.
I mean, the only people who are seeing any kind of real benefit from these stimulus packages at all are people who either don't work or people who only work just really low wage part-time jobs.
That's what it was. It was the minimum wage worker has been hugely helped by this because, they offered, what was it, like $400 a week and the unemployment, right? So unemployment here in California, I think it pays like $300 a week or something like that. So 300 plus 400, 700. That's more than you were making working minimum wage after taxes.
Yeah, and
so people here on minimum wage were actually making more money on unemployment than they were.
Well, and there was an argument, something we talked about with the first stimulus package that increased unemployment benefits last year. I think it was a stepping stone for like UBI
or something like that.
Yeah. And we talked about it on here as it was a stepping stone to UBI.
Yep. They're still pushing it.
And they're
absolutely.
We're seeing it getting pushed even more aggressively now. And here's the thing: how can you not see how that's wealth redistribution?
Yeah.
Right.
How can you not see that that's wealth redistribution, where the people who make over 80K, who are in general going to be your small business owners, your business executives, the people who are making, enough money where they've clearly put in a bunch of time, they've put in effort, they've paid their dues to get to this point. They're not benefiting at all, but the people who are just cruising through, doing jack shit all, and barely, even producing anything of any value are going, oh, this is so great. That's a pretty clear indication that wealth is being transferred from one to the other.
Yes.
And
some perspective.
I love how they have billed every last one of these checks that it was Trump change at first, now it's Biden bucks. How they've billed every last one of them as life-changing money.
If $1,400 changes your life, you are in a very bad position.
Did they say $1,400 was supposed to float people to June or something?
Uh-huh. Well,
mean, are
they
you
can't
kid-
they can't evict anybody until September, so I guess
They can't evict people for non-payment of rent.
Yeah, they can still evict
Right.
you if you're doing something else. But I mean, the thing is, like,
Yeah.
I don't make bad money, but I don't make a hell of a lot either. But $1,400 is not going to alter my life. Like, it's going to be like, oh, cool, I can go buy something stupid now. But that
I was going to say that
Wait,
extra $1,400 is roughly an extra paycheck.
Yeah.
For me.
Speaking of the rent memorandums, the rent and the eviction memorandums, and the mortgage memorandums, there's a really good episode of Liberty Lockdown. Clint was on with Pete Kionis where they talk about like the options that he sees. Clint was a he did personal loans at like $100 million worth of personal loans in his career or something like that. So that's a it's a fantastic. I should go listen to it. But like his thing is like, there's really when the memorandums end, there's really only like three options, right? Like either you're gonna have mass homelessness due to all the evictions, right?
Mhm.
Mass foreclosures due to non-payment of mortgages,
Yeah.
right? So your houses are gonna disappear from the or the housing market's gonna absolutely crash, right? So the options are either the government allows that to happen, right, or the government bails out the homeowners, all these mortgage lending firms, right? Which again, more debt, more bailout, all that other stuff, right?
Yep.
Or the federal government steps in and nationalizes the housing industry.
Which seems to me at this point like the likely outcome.
And essentially what it comes down to is where you live is where you live.
Yep. Yeah, you no longer have upward mobility of housing. You no longer have these opportunities to maybe take a risk and speculate on a property. Like, that's all gone. And the thing is, too,
and you need to provide paperwork to justify moving to a different location.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, so I work in the lending industry, and our target demographic is low income, right? That it just plain and simple. It's people who are lower income. And when the first stimuli happened, we saw huge drops in our receivables. We're now seeing even more drops in our receivables, partially because of tax returns, which happens every year. That's an annual drop we expect. But we're also seeing a huge drop because of the stimuluses already. We're starting to see people pay off. The thing is the company is still gearing up. We're still planning for all of those people that have paid off in the past year and a half to come back.
Yep.
Because as soon as all of a sudden they have to catch up on their rent, they have to catch up on their mortgage, they have to catch up on this and that, habits don't change. Like, if you're bad with money, you're going to continue to probably be bad with money, which means that you're going to be in that position again and you're going to come right back. So we're still anticipating a huge comeback in the next 6 months where our receivables are probably going to be bigger than they've ever been. Because everybody's going to need money so badly that they're going to be coming to us. And even though you're going to be paying back a couple of grand on a $1,000 loan, you're still, you need the money. You don't have a choice because otherwise you get evicted. And we're anticipating that that's going to happen because history has shown time and again, that's exactly what you're going to see. So if we're anticipating that and we see that coming and we're just a company, you can be guaranteed that the people who are actually controlling interest rates and controlling the value of the dollar and stuff also see that as an impending thing and are going to be making plans, and it's not going to be plans you want them to do.
No, but that is part of cloud-driven strategy, right? An engineered economic collapse that causes people to come begging to the government for help, and the government's going to institute help through a literally an economic change and a change in economic policies that will institute, like we'll get UBI, we'll get Universal, we'll get free college, and the end of capitalism.
Well, and the thing is that a lot of people who are proponents of that don't seem to understand is, remember that if like you work for a company that cares about its image and it cares about how its workers look, they control what you can and can't post on social media. They control, how you can dress. They control the kinds of things you can say in public and the kinds of organizations you can be involved in, because they're your money. So when they say you can't do that, they own you. They get to make those dictates, because if you say no, you lose your income. What do you think is going to happen when your income is the federal government? You think they're not going to take full advantage of that kind of control? They fucking own you.
They'll call you a domestic terrorist.
Yeah, and then throw you in a camp. But don't worry, we're all nuts and hyper paranoid for saying for years that we were about to all get called domestic terrorists.
It's all
that was
hyperbole,
definitely not going to happen. Yeah,
yeah, it is.
We're just Minecraft fans.
That's all. It doesn't matter that Andrew and I have both seen us being investigated for domestic terrorism.
Talk to. Yeah.
I mean, straight up getting harassed by federal agents. I mean, we're not the only ones. There's a lot of people right now, especially in the liberty movement, who are getting harassed by federal agents.
Yep. So, all right, back to the article. For some perspective, consider the Recovery Act, the financial stimulus package President Obama squeaked through Congress early in his term. That response to the financial crisis cost $800 billion, equal to just over 5% GDP. Obama came under withering criticism for the size of the Recovery Act and was unable to convince Congress to provide much additional help. Instead, lawmakers turned to hand-wringing over deficits and debt and prematurely embraced fiscal austerity. The post-financial crisis recovery sputtered. Biden helped implement the Recovery Act as Obama's vice president and understands this mistake. This is evident in the massive American Rescue Plan. That is the one that was just passed, $1.9 trillion.
The American Rescue Plan.
Yeah. It's on par with like the Patriot Act.
I mean, you want to talk self-aggrandization. Jesus.
Hold on. This is evident in the massive American Rescue Plan. The post-pandemic recovery will soon kick into high gear. The Biden administration will soon begin work on the next fiscal package. It will be fashioned on the Build Back Better agenda that Biden proposed during his campaign. It addresses the nation's long-term economic challenges, including repairing our increasing fragile infrastructure, climate change, racial equality, and income and wealth inequality.
It's all I can think of here is that this is essentially what this article is. We did it, Patrick! We saved the city!
Yeah, that's about it, too.
I mean, that's where we're at.
I'm trying to figure out exactly how to respond to this, and I just can't find the words.
I don't have the emotional wherewithal to respond to shit like this in a coherent or not violation of Brandenburg manner, because I mean,
I don't have to say it anymore. I can just say, Christopher, tap the patch. Yeah, don't make me tap the sign.
See, that's why you need one on your microphone, because then you can just be like, don't make me tap the sign.
Addresses the nation's economic challenges, including repairing our increasing fragile infrastructure, climate change, racial equality, and income and wealth equality. These are problems that have developed over decades. Solving them will take persistent policies over decades to come. As such, they must be paid for. Deficit financing makes sense to help a struggling economy in a crisis like the pandemic when interest rates are low. But that won't work for long-running problems after the economy is back to full employment and interest rates have normalized. The federal government stepped up admirably during the pandemic, quickly providing a financial backstop, particularly for the hardest hit among us. It showed that government is indispensable during a crisis. Let's hope lawmakers
What?
can use this success to tackle our most difficult long-term problems that only government can address.
I have a question.
No.
Let's assume that the vaccine is everything that they're billing it out to me for just 1 second. I don't.
I'm gonna need one of those, Andrew.
Yep, I'm cracking open another beer here if we're gonna assume.
I'm before I even finish that thought, I'm taking another sip of my whiskey. So, assuming for a second that the vaccines are everything they're billed to be and everything, did the government make those? Did the government actually spin up the labs and do the culture growths? And did the government make those, or did private companies make those?
Well, the government, the FDA, fast forwarded them, and then I think.
Yes,
I don't know if I remember correctly or not, but I believe that the government used the essentially nationalized or took over or authorized the labs to make them.
Yeah, under Trump's direction, they used the War Production Act, I believe is what it's called, that says that in times of national emergency, the federal government can force private companies to do something specific that it wants it to do. Because that's how you had the, during World War II, the car companies building airplanes and the Louisville Slugger making M1 carbines, and
that still cracks me up.
Singer making 1911s. They didn't make a lot of them, but they did make a few. If you have one and you'd like to send that to me, by the way, please feel free. You have any idea how much those are worth? But I don't even like 1911s, and I know how much that's worth. But I mean, that's why you had that, was because the federal government could say, no, you're not allowed to make cars anymore. You don't get to make baseball bats. You're not making sewing machines. You are going to make guns. You're going to make tanks. You're going to make airplanes. And they did the same thing.
And I know that they had tried to do that initially with like ventilators and stuff. And then you had some companies like Ford that just did it themselves without needing to be told. And they just like, oh, we have all these extra blower motors. Well, let's hook them up to this apparatus and hey, look, ventilator.
Yep, ventilator. That's what happens when you give engineers an interesting problem and they're bored. They're like, hey, you know what I could do?
So, I mean, I know there was some of that. I didn't realize that they used that to force pharmaceutical companies into that. So,
well, yeah, because otherwise there wouldn't have really been that much money in it. Because you think about it, how much a nationally dictated vaccine is going to sell for, because it's going to be federally price controlled. You're never going to make back your R&D costs, especially when you had ultra rapid R&D, which means that all of your labs are working on it. So you're dedicating $100 million plus on this, and you're going to see what, maybe 50 million?
Yeah.
For a virus.
December 8th, 2020. President Trump said he will invoke the Defense Production Act to produce vaccine doses if necessary, though he did not do so before the end of his term because Operation Warp Speed was already in effect.
Operation Warp. I mean, they're national emergencies because of a really bad cold and operations.
Operation Warp Speed was a public-private partnership initiated by U.S. President Donald Trump and his administration to facilitate and accelerate the development, manufacturing, and distribution of COVID-19 vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics.
And the thing is, if the vaccine, and this has been like nagging me this whole time, is if the vaccines, any of them, turn out to, not kill loads of people and not cause a bunch of problems and actually be completely safe despite not having undergone any of this FDA testing, then the question is, so why do we need all this FDA testing then?
Right.
So,
well, and not only that, but we're talking about a virus which comes from a long line of types of virus. the coronavirus, the rhinovirus, and the influenza viruses are known to aggressively mutate.
Well, yeah, the whole thing was what scared people is that this was new. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot different, but it was new.
Well, I mean, and it's remember that the scientific name of it is SARS-CoV-2, right? And the first part of that SARS is the Shenzhen acquired respiratory syndrome, or acute respiratory syndrome. So that, remember, the SARS issues, killed like 50,000 people years ago. There's also MERS, which is the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome, also caused by a coronavirus that killed like 30,000 in the U.S. These things have happened before. We've encountered this kind of COVID before, and we didn't shut down during the SARS issues. We didn't shut down during bird flu. We didn't shut down during these other things. And guess what? The economy did peachy, and not that many fucking people died.
Well, you can't institute cloud pivot if you don't destroy the economy.
Yeah.
Well, and where I was going with that, though, is if these vaccines prove to be even marginally actually effective long term, which I highly doubt because of the mutative nature of coronaviruses as a whole, then your best bet is to actually have, like they used to have, chicken pox parties.
Chicken pox party? Yeah, I went to one when I was little.
I went to one when I was I hosted one when I was little.
I went to one when I was little, and all my brothers got it except me.
But I mean,
no, like literally to the point where my mom would use a rag on like my brother's arm, and then rub that rag on my arm.
To try and get you to get chicken.
To try and get me to get it, and I never got it.
Huh.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at the efficacy of vaccines versus actually getting the infection. Like, I had the chicken pox. I've never had shingles. I'm 36 years old. My daughter, my oldest, is 15 or will be 15 in 2 days. She had the chicken pox vaccine when she was little.
Mm-hmm.
And at age 9 had shingles.
Fuck.
We found out on my wedding day. She's sitting there during the ceremony, scratching, and this really hurt.
Oh my God.
And we looked at it like, oh, well, after the wedding, I guess we're going to the ER to get you checked out.
Hey, so sorry about that, all of our wedding guests. We murdered you all.
Right. So vaccines, yes, they produce some manner of immunity, but it's nowhere near as effective as actually being exposed to a non-life-threatening illness.
Yeah. So, all right, we killed that. We killed that op-ed. So now we got another one related to that pandemic.
We put it on a respirator when it didn't need to be.
Okay. No, this one is. I actually hate this one. I hate this one a lot.
I say that about a lot of our articles.
Yeah. Will masks star in our nightmares forever? Experts say pandemic-related dreams are here to stay.
Before we get into this, I would like to just note for the record, when I was 18 to 20 years old, I worked at the Pizza Hut in Sparta. And I still have nightmares of that fucking phone ringing.
Yep. I worked at McDonald's for 2 years in high school. I still can't eat McDonald's 20 years later.
Like every phone in the building had the same ringtone, and they all, I'll wake up in the middle of the night. Oh.
And the weird thing about all the masks, and think of how many people that you have interacted with in the past year that you don't actually know what they look like.
Well, you remember the videos? There was a series of videos that came out like October, November, of little babies, 5-6 months old, right? Born February, March, April. And people were around, and the people would take off their masks, and the babies would start crying.
Because they thought it was part of their face.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, and it's not to say like that if you are sick, that if you're sick, wearing a mask is is not an effective way to prevent you from transmitting it, because the reality is, in general, yes, it does in fact work.
Well,
But if you're not,
you could look at the flu numbers this year and saying, masks are effective.
During the Spanish flu,
but that's not what we're saying.
Yeah, during the Spanish flu in 1918, I mean, you see videos and photos and stuff all over the place of everybody wearing masks who's sick and staying away from everyone else, because you knew that, it was transmissible way. So
at that point in time, they had a rudimentary understanding of what pathogens really were and how they were transmitted. So that made sense. Yeah. And like you guys said, we're not saying that if you are sick, if you have a disease that can be transmitted through the air, through droplets or anything like that, wearing a mask to keep those around you safe makes perfect sense. Making ordinary healthy people walk around in face shields all day long.
I just had the other day, I told a guy that I had gotten coronavirus back in November. And I got over it and stuff. And I was talking about how, it took me like 3 months to get my sense of taste and smell back, which really sucks. But like, if there's ever one reason to not get COVID, it's that one. That really sucks. I cannot describe to you how much that sucks.
By the way, the Skittles, once your taste comes back, you're right.
Oh, yeah, you're like, yes, Skittles. But seriously, trust me on that one. It's the best food ever when you get your sense of taste back. But I told him that, that I had it and everything else. And I'm like, but I'm not going to get the vaccine, because even if it worked, what would be the point? I've already gotten the virus. He's like, oh yeah, so you're asymptomatic now. No, I'm over it. I'm healthy now. That asymptomatic would indicate that I have it, that it currently is an active infection in my body. This is what this has done to people. They're retarded.
Oh, they were retarded before. Right. It's just they compounded.
All right, let's get into this article, because there's we all three of us have some degree of PTSD
and different things. Yes.
Okay, so this article is entitled "Will Masks Star in Our Nightmares Forever?" Experts say pandemic-related dreams are here to stay. The terrors and stresses of the pandemic during our waking hours have infiltrated our sleep for nearly a year now. Sleepless nights, ultra-vivid dreams, dreams about vaccines, dreams about social distancing, and yes, dreams about masks. Turns out dreaming about masks is one of the sleep-related side effects of the pandemic. Quote,
you created
it. Quote, I was going out to eat with a group of friends. I was walking through the main entrance, and there were groups of people waiting for the reservation on either side. No one had on masks, and every time I took a deep breath, I could feel the germs hitting the back of my throat.
For God's sake.
I was afraid to breathe, almost like being underwater.
That's obsessive compulsive disorder. That's what that is.
That is a quote from Dynasty Norris, 30-year-old from Maryland. Goes on to say, quote, the entrance turned into a tunnel of people with no masks and me walking down the middle. I'm in some public... another quote from someone else that says, I'm in some public place and everyone else is wearing their masks, but I'm not, and I don't have one. Says Chris Haas, 24. Quote,
That's
I have to try
and
put whatever I can over my nose and mouth in a makeshift mask.
Well, this is
you're not sick.
This is the hysteria that people have been whipped into by all of this propaganda and control oriented fear mongering, is that people are having nightmares about horse shit.
People are actually having PTSD and other mental health related issues that were manufactured by a horse shit propaganda movement.
Hold on. Remember that quote. Remember what you guys just said, because there's an expert down here, and I'm gonna read.
Do you use the term expert lightly?
Yes. I'm gonna read what they're an expert in, and you're both gonna just fucking die. All right. The dreams shared by both Norris and Haas reflect two common types of mask dreams many are experiencing. Either you're not wearing one or the people around you aren't wearing theirs. Quote, the meaning of dreams always depend on the personal circumstances of the dreamer, but a dream where you forgot your mask reflects a sense of personal behavior and responsibility, as well as anxiety about meeting the requirements of the new limits on social activities. A dream about others around you not wearing masks reflects a different sort of anxiety, namely a failure of so many people. This is a quote from Kelly Bulkley, a psychologist of religion specializing in dream research.
Hey, what?
Psychologist of religion
Well, I mean,
specializing in
sadism
dream
is a
research.
religion.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would make sense then that you
That makes perfect sense.
Quote, the same person can have both kinds of dreams, but some people may have bigger worries about one or the other of these pandemic challenges.
I don't know about you guys. Go ahead.
Oh, I was say I'm more likely to have a nightmare about like pulling somebody's mask off and being like, you don't fucking need that, and then there's another one under it, and another one under it, and another one under it. And the worst part is that nightmare can be fucking real because Fauci is saying you got to wear like 12 fucking masks now.
It's like the old the old Daffy Duck cartoon of that was the man in the green hat. He starts taking off hats.
All right, so we don't need to dig into that article because it's trash and all that.
Yeah.
PTSD and social normalities and social pressure and all that good stuff, right?
This is the level of hysteria that has been whipped up. This is that where people are literally just terrified of each other's faces now.
Oh,
I mean,
hold on. Time out. Stop right there.
Do I have to point in my hat?
Not yet. Stop right there. I told you guys when I made the list of articles for tonight's podcast, I said that I had a special article that I wanted to bring up, but I wasn't going to tell you guys about it because I wanted a genuine response when I brought up the article.
And I'm guessing we're at that point, aren't we?
We're at that point. I'm not going to read the title of the article. I'm not going to read the article. The article is linked in the description for the people that are listening at home. I don't do that before, so these guys didn't get a chance to see it. Okay. It's been a lonely year for Evelyn Shaw, who hasn't been able to hug or even see her family members because of the pandemic. The grandmother from the Bronx, New York, has finally been vaccinated, but is still wary about seeing her grandkids. Quote, we were together all the time, her daughter Laura Shaw Frank told Inside Edition. Quote, she would come over for dinner. She would sit on the couch with one grandchild on each side, and then other two hovering around her, loving her, just spending so much time with her. This all ended when social distancing measures were in place. Seniors like Evelyn Shaw were advised to be especially careful since they were at high risk of serious infections of the coronavirus. Her oldest grandchild, Atariat Shaw, worried about her. Quote, it was very hard knowing that she was all alone in her apartment day in and day out and never seeing anyone, never hugging anyone, never touching anyone. Harriet has now been fully vaccinated, and so has her grandmother, meaning that they should be able to see each other. But Evelyn was still worried about the virus. So Harriet went to the doctor. Quote, I said she's never going to hug me. She's too nervous. She's never going to hug me. And she said, and the doctor goes, well, I'm going to write her a prescription that says she can hug you. And I said, literally, that might be the only thing that makes her do it.
What?
What?
People have been so driven to this hyper anxiety by all the propaganda and everything else that the doctor is going to write a prescription for the daughter to give to her mother that says she is able to hug her family once again.
The doctor actually wrote that prescription knowing that a hug was the medicine Evelyn needed. It says, quote, you are allowed to hug your granddaughter. With prescription in hand, Laura and Atet headed to the grandmother's house in the Bronx. Laura has only received one dose of her vaccine, but Harriet and Evelyn fully vaccinated, plus the bonus prescription. They knew they were safe to hug as they embraced. Evelyn was in tears.
What?
What the
fuck?
I'm having a short circuit in my brain right now trying to process this.
Quote, it was as Atariat said, a permission slip. Yes, that I can finally do this without fear. Evelyn said, hugging her granddaughter for the first time in about a year.
They needed permission.
Hold on. Now Evelyn can't wait to hug her other 6 grandkids. Quote, when I wrote on my calendar, free at last, I didn't feel free, she said. But now I've got this, she said, holding up the prescription for a hug. Quote, you are allowed to hug your granddaughter. What a statement. What a statement.
The Massa had given his children the permission to do the hugging. We's free. Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. I am not joking. I am not pulling your leg.
Oh my God.
I don't even know how to respond to this any further. I mean,
these people are insane. This is, if you ever wondered how the hell did Hitler get all of these people to agree to just like turn in their neighbors and send them to death camps? How did Stalin get all these people to agree to just obey and turn in their neighbors?
It's a picture of the fucking prescription.
Oh my God. But if you ever wondered, how did this happen? How do these regimes convince reasonable people, ostensibly fairly reasonable people, to do these absolutely insane things?
Look around.
I present to you a woman who needed a doctor to give her a prescription for a hug.
Who believed that a prescription from her doctor was the only way she was going to be able to hug her grandmother again.
Yep.
Yep.
Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you have sown.
This is why humanity is not a species which is in fact engineered to last.
You understand why I couldn't tell you guys about that beforehand, right?
This is,
I apologize for dropping
but
this.
At the same time,
for dropping this bomb on you.
I'm a little shell shocked right now from that.
Well,
wow.
I'm sending this link to our friend Nikki Liberty Doll. She's a licensed psychologist. I'm sure Nikki will have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, I'm sure she's gonna have some real fun things to say.
Probably.
The thing is, this is something that we bring up a lot on the show, and like me and Derek have bantered back and forth about quite a bit and things, and that is that once people get into this mentality that they need to be told what to do, that it's okay for someone to tell them what to do and to just defer to authority at all times and not ever think critically about anything, but simply defer to authority for all moral judgment. This is the kind of thing that results from that. This is the chimpanzees with the banana, where they're all scared that they're going to get sprayed with a hose, even though none of them has ever been sprayed with a hose, because they've just been convinced by everyone else that if they do this, they're going to get sprayed with a hose.
Yep.
I can't even begin to wrap my head around this idea.
Christopher's about to up in that whole bottle.
This is though, I mean, that is the terrifying thing, is this is in real time, in the right now around you. This is a demonstration of how you convince people to murder their friends and family just because governments said it was okay. This is a real world demonstration right in front of you of that happening.
You okay, Christopher? Did I hurt you? Did I break you?
I'm still.
That one doesn't get any better, does it?
This is like there used to be jokes. There used to be jokes on cartoons and things about people getting written prescriptions for love.
Yeah.
And like,
this is an example of an actual written prescription for love. I mean, this is stuff that used to be on Looney Tunes.
This was a joke on Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Right.
Remember on season 1, episode 13, Dumber Dolls, my absolute favorite episode of that entire series, with Happy Time Harry, who's like, you want me to be happy? You get me those pills. And so Meatwad goes to Frylock and is like Frylock, where are the pills? And he's like, pills? What do you need pills for? And Happy Time Harry needs them. He says the pills make the phone calls go away. And
The fuck?
and so Frylock writes him a prescription for like
This is
doses
why
of
nobody listens to us.
I know.
We are the most professional podcast out there. We do it all in one take.
Oh,
And-
Andrew's not on an airplane. He's on a spaceship right now.
oh man.
Well, Derek is not here. Our resident stoner isn't here, so Andrew's got to step in. Apparently,
I've got to. Well, I freaking dude. This is what this is doing to me. This is what facing these articles is doing to me. It has completely unhinged me. I can't. But I'm just saying, like, and he writes a prescription for like 2 doses of happiness, and like it's like ha ha ha. And that was funny because that's absurd, right? That's a little kid thing, like, oh, that's
Right.
cute, that's absurd. This is actually a thing that has been done. The prescription is real.
I guarantee you this isn't the
Babylon Bee.
only one.
Babylon Bee couldn't even do this.
No, everyone
this
would
is
be
so
like that.
absurd. Babylon Bee wouldn't touch it with a 100-foot pole.
Okay. All right. You guys need to laugh now?
Oh,
You need to laugh. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Deep breath.
this
Bottoms
Okay.
up.
All right. All right.
this is pure honk honk. I mean, Clown World is shit.
All right. Nebraska Governor Ricketts warns, quote, if you legalize marijuana, you're going to kill your kids.
I remember this. We were laughing our asses off about this.
Marijuana kills. Like,
For madness.
yeah. It's,
Marijuana
two-
only kills people like me. It doesn't kill your average
All right.
person.
Your other two, the other 2 were female, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, Brenda, if all 3 of them were smoking marijuana cigarettes.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Nebraska Governor
The headline of this article makes me feel like Professor Farnsworth.
No, you know
I
what
don't
the
want
worst
to live
part? You know what the
in
worst
any-
part is? It's not even a recreational marijuana bill. It's a medical cannabis
It's a
bill.
medical marijuana bill.
You know, there are
So-
medications that can potentially make you kill your children. Those are prescription antidepressants, which are regularly prescribed.
Yes. All right. Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts has launched an aggressive campaign against legalization of medical marijuana in his state, going so far as to warn residents that legalizing the drug, which has never been linked to a fatal overdose, will kill their children. Quote, this is a dangerous drug that will impact our kids, Ricketts told reporters on Wednesday. Quote, if you legalize marijuana, you're going to kill your kids. That's what the data shows from around the country.
What?
Yes. Yes.
And,
yes.
and then the Negroes will be dancing with them white women, he went on to say.
Anybody else find the irony in the guy's name being Ricketts?
Yeah, I know, Ricketts. I had to laugh.
When asked what data Ricketts was referring to, a spokesman directed USA Today to 2 studies that found an increase in marijuana use among teens who died by suicide in states that had legalized the drug. In his remarks Wednesday, Ricketts cited the 2 cases where young men who died by suicide had eaten cannabis edibles.
Two cases
Two data points. A sample size
of 2.
of 2.
Yes. The Republican governor made the statement as the state legislature is considering a bill to legalize the use of cannabis if recommended by a health care practitioner. The legalization restricts the form of consumption of oils, pills, or tinctures and prohibits marijuana smoking even in a patient's home.
So they're talking about basic edibles, maybe some oil drops that you put under your tongue.
No, the restricts the form of consumption to oils, pills, or tinctures. So right, you can have oils, pills, or tinctures, and prohibits marijuana smoking even in the patient's home. So you can have like edibles or canna butter or CBD oil. Ricketts decried the legislation as, quote, dangerous efforts to go around the normal process of federal approval for a drug's use. Quote, big pot, big marijuana is a big industry, Ricketts said. Quote, this is a big industry that is trying not to be regulated, to go around the regulatory process, and that's going to put people at risk. When you go around regulations that are designed for the health and safety of our society.
I hate that word. I absolutely hate that word.
Which one?
Society.
Oh. Yeah. Hold on. Ricketts said experts agree that marijuana is dangerous, citing its Schedule
No, they
1
don't.
citing its Schedule 1 classification by the Drug Enforcement Administration as
Which
evidence.
was there because of fucking racist bastards working for the FDA in the 1930s.
Oh
What
my God.
The classification signifies that the federal government believes it puts marijuana on the same level as drugs like heroin and LSD, and that it, quote, has no currently accepted medical use.
Heroin, heroin is refined morphine, and LSD was developed by the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah,
right.
Yet,
every
according
last
to
one
the
of those
DEA,
drugs will kill you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much cannabis you take, like Andrew says, it becomes its own catalyst after a while.
Yeah, it's a parabolic arch. There's a certain point where it pulls itself. It starts bonding to itself and pulls itself back out of your bloodstream.
Yes.
Now, granted, that's an enormous amount of concentration, but that's what happens.
Yeah, the article goes on to say, yet, according to the DEA, quote, no deaths from overdose of marijuana have ever been reported. And legalization advocates point out that marijuana's classification was a result of an act of Congress, the 1970 Controlled Substance Act, and not based on conclusion from scientific experts.
Yeah, all I can think of is, if you have seen Reefer Madness, you know who I'm talking about, Dr. Carroll in Reefer Madness says, yes, I remember just a young boy under the influence of these drugs who killed his entire family with an axe. Like,
jazz hands.
Like, all right. All right, well, let's get through this one quick one. Let's get through this one quick one, then we'll jump on the last one, because the last one's going to take a while because Andrew's gonna be in a plane for a bit.
Is Andrew gonna rant?
Yes, not for this one, but for the next one. Federal COVID-19 bailout prohibits states from cutting taxes.
I remember.
Buried within the $1.9 trillion emergency spending bill that Congress sent to President Joe Biden's desk on Wednesday is a provision that could effectively block states from cutting taxes if they accept bailout dollars. That provision, added to the bill by the Senate last week, could put a halt to several states' plans to cut taxes this year as a way to stimulate economic growth following the COVID-19 pandemic.
Wait, are they suggesting that cutting taxes increases the ability of the economy to run well?
You mean when people have more money, they spend more money?
Are they suggesting that? That's absurd. Krugman tells me that definitely isn't the case.
Yeah. Depending on how the text is interpreted, the measure could also make it illegal for states to create new tax credit programs like the ones that have become a popular mechanism for expanding school choice. Critics say this expansion of federal control over state policymaking is murking at best and potentially unconstitutional.
So the long and short of it is, in order to help fund their income redistribution scheme, they're saying that the state governments cannot reduce taxes and therefore must maintain an X level of taxation.
Yes.
To help,
yes.
So that way the federal government can then not give the states hopefully as much money and can focus.
No. That isn't even remotely constitutional. Like that's not even in the realm of constitutional.
Since the federal government, since the federal government is giving states money that they don't really need, there are two things state lawmakers can do: use the federal money to grow government spending, or pass that extra cash along to taxpayers by lowering their tax burdens. However, the Senate inserted language into the American Rescue Plan that expressly telling states that they, quote, shall not use the funds provided to either directly or indirectly offset a reduction in the net tax revenue, or do anything, quote, that reduces any tax by providing for a reduction in a rate, rebate, deduction, credit, or otherwise, or other delays in the imposition of any tax or tax increase.
That isn't how the Constitution
hold on.
works.
The same section of the bill also bans states from depositing the federal bailout into their public pension funds, which is probably a good idea because it's pretty ironic considering that the American Rescue Plan also contains a completely indefensible bailout of some of the private sector pension funds run by labor unions.
Well, that was one of the biggest things that I saw continuously mocked by congressional Republicans as they were going through debate, was the fact that they were giving billions of dollars to bail out these pension funds that obviously were never financially solvent to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's nothing more, and we talked about this in the pre-show. It's a pork bill designed to bail out the unions that have completely mismanaged everything.
Yeah, I mean, man, it makes you nostalgic for Jimmy Hoffa, doesn't it?
Right?
That man knew how to
does.
invest a fucking pension fund.
Yeah. Jared Walczyk, vice president of the state projects at the Tax Foundation, told Reason, quote, states will receive federal aid regardless of their budget situation, and many potential uses for that funding could theoretically offset the need to spend state dollars. If that is enough to block a tax cut, states could find themselves barred from cutting taxes, even though they could have done so without taking a dollar in state aid.
We don't need it, but we're going to give it to you.
Yeah, so even if they don't want it, and they're like, no, that's really not necessary, we're good, and then they lower taxes, the federal government can say, well, then now you need to give us the money back that we gave you that you said you didn't need or want.
Yes.
Because so there's this thing called enumerated powers in the Constitution that might have a thing or two to say.
Do you really think the federal government gives a shit?
Oh, they don't. I'm just pointing out, like, so there's like this has been anticipated, things like this by some people before, and
you know. It's funny you bring up the Constitution. I'm putting that out there because of the last article. Senate Dems introduced the assault weapons ban bill on 205 gun models. Yeah.
So do you want me to rant now or do you want me to wait a minute?
Oh, you can wait. Please.
Just hold on, because you'll have a rant and I'll have a rant, and it'll be a fucking party.
We got about 40 minutes or about half an hour before we start doing our tags. So there's plenty.
If we go over just a little bit because Andrew and I are ranting,
there's plenty of time to rant. Senate Democrats introduced legislation that would ban 205, quote, assault weapons on Thursday, just hours after the House passed two other gun control bills. They were universal background check bills. Introduced by Senator Dianne Feinstein, the legislation called the, quote, assault weapons ban of 2021 would also outlaw magazines capable of holding more than 10 rounds, and is co-sponsored by 34 other Senate Democrats. Andrew's ready to burst already.
I had to get up. I turned my camera off because I had to go get some ice cubes for this thing, because I just have a feeling I'm going to need more whiskey.
All right. According to a press release from Feinstein, the bill, quote, bans any assault weapon with the capacity to utilize a magazine that is not a fixed ammunition magazine and has one or more military characteristics, including a pistol grip, a forward grip, a barrel shroud, a threaded barrel, or a folding or telescoping stock.
I would like to point out, this rifle right here does not utilize a fixed magazine.
Mm-hmm.
if I were to go onto boydsgunstocks.com and buy myself a replacement stock for this, you damn sure there would be a pistol grip right here.
Yep.
Which would make this invalid or illegal to own under this bill.
You notice the language. It says that is not a fixed ammunition magazine, and quote, has one or more military characteristics.
One or more, because it used to be even the Brady Act, right? Even Brady was two or more.
That's how it is in Cali, yeah.
Yep. So, like, you could have, under the Brady Act, you could have a bolt-action rifle that didn't have a bayonet lug, didn't have a pistol grip, didn't have a removable magazine, but it could have a threaded barrel. Yeah. Or it could have a removable magazine, or it could have a pistol grip. It just couldn't have two of them. So here's where I'm going to rant. So this is a repeat of a previous history lesson, but in a little bit more detail.
Yeah. Hold on. One more quick second. Give me two paragraphs, and then. All right. Some of the firearms listed in the proposed ban are, quote, all AR types, all Uzi types, Beretta CX4, Sig Sauer P556 pistol, as well as belt-fed semi-autos. Current owners of the, quote, assault weapons listed in the legislation would be allowed to keep them, but any private transfers would require an FBI background check prior to receiving the firearm. Additionally, the bill prohibits bump stocks, which have already been illegal since March 26th, 2019.
So before you go on your... Go ahead.
I brought up the bill. We're going to go through the firearms.
Okay. I want to point out that under this bill, just based on what I've heard so far, this rifle is a 1955 manufacture Chinese T-53 Mosin Nagant. It is a bolt action, as you can see by this bolt mechanism here. Mm-hmm. It has a fixed magazine. So far, we're in compliance. However, it does have a folding bayonet right here, which would make it illegal and an assault weapon under this bill because it has a bayonet.
Does it have a barrel shroud? No.
If you count the stock, yes, because the stock goes all the way down here.
I don't think the stocks count.
However,
doesn't have a muzzle brake either. You're okay.
However, this one is a 1946 manufacture Russian M44. They are functionally identical. However, this one does not have a bayonet lug. Therefore, this rifle, which shoots the same round and is functionally identical to this rifle,
one's legal, one's not,
is legal.
Yeah. All right, Andrew, go ahead. Go for it.
Okay. Take a nap. So here, right, I've talked about it before, the fact that most gun laws, right, have racist origins, where the earliest known gun laws prohibited natives. They said American Indians, that you couldn't sell guns to the Indians, and if you did, you could actually be punished by being killed. They weren't allowed not just guns, but they weren't allowed any weapons. And then a little bit later, you also had where they added in that you couldn't sell you couldn't sell guns to, and they couldn't possess or carry guns that it was black people, right? Because if they were slaves or free, because they were black, they weren't allowed to do it, right? This is the antebellum United States. So you had the ability to just be racist as hell, and it was okay. So you had those laws. You had multiple laws in municipalities, even after the Civil War, initially, that said, with Jim Crow laws and things where, black people can't have guns. Well, then, after a little while where that starts to become not a thing that you can really do anymore, you're not really allowed to govern. There's no way to effectively say, just because you're black necessarily openly as time goes on. What you see is this change to an economic model for discrimination against the unwanted of society, that the elites don't want to have guns, right? So they can't say, well, because you're black, you can't have a gun necessarily. So what they start saying is, like with the NFA, right? 1934, when the NFA gets passed, it says, that, okay, well, now there's this $200 tax stamp that you need in order to buy machine guns, in order to buy short rifles, short shotguns, in order to buy, submachine guns, in order to buy suppressors, which is a weird one for almost the entire rest of the world. That's because they're worried about communist assassination plots. Not that ever happened, but so you start seeing that
they'd use an umbrella, not a frickin' suppressor.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, that the whole reason that they're worried about the concealability and they're worried about, the criminal element, and they're worried about the assassins, is because that's associated with people who would be communists, people who would be criminals, and they assume that those are going to be blacks, those are going to be Hispanics, those are going to be American Indians, those are going to be people that the white elites, in particular in the Democrats controlled South, don't want to see in having arms. So that continues onwards. Well, then you get to the GCA in 68, which is during the civil rights era. And when you get to the GCA, now they're going to close, start trying to close any additional loopholes and start like naming specific guns, right? Where they say, okay, well, now it's going to be specific features. There's even a law back in the day where they banned Saturday night specials, the concealed carry of Saturday night specials, the cheap, crappy little guns. And you could, if you wanted to carry, well, we're not saying you can't carry, but you can't carry these little ones, only like the Colt, Navy, and Army revolvers, which cost a small fortune. And remember, that $200 tax stamp isn't that big a deal now. But that's because it hasn't changed with inflation. If it changed with inflation, it would be like $1,300 or $1,400 now that you would have to pay. So you have situations where there are, for instance, slam fire shotguns that were sold. The Winchester 87, maybe
89.
89. I think it's like I want to say it's the 87 that had slam fire too, but the Winchester,
the Ithaca too, the Ithaca one.
Well, yeah, and the Ithaca, where if it had a short enough barrel, because remember, like Ithacas, those things were sold with like 18 and 20-inch barrels. So those were short shotguns, and they were dirt cheap. They were like $400, but you had to pay a $200 tax stamp on a $400 gun just to be able to legally own it. And the reason that this is set up is so that people of lower income, who they're assuming are going to be minorities, can't get their hands on those weapons. And then when you hit the GCA, again, it's even less trendy. It's less acceptable to specifically say, well, black people and Indians and Mexicans can't have these guns. So you just start saying, well, if it's got this feature and that feature and this feature and that feature, so that the only guns that you leave easily and cheaply available are guns that are super, super basic and can't possibly be used for anything but target shooting, anything but hunting. And you're also forcing a lot of people in the lower economic classes out of even hunting, because cheap, easily available, like military surplus arms fall under these bans. And so you can't get your hands on them unless you pay a decent amount of money for them. So now you're still controlling who can and can't have guns and keeping exclusive to the higher classes. And then you have the Hughes Amendment and FOPA, and the Hughes Amendment closes the machine gun registry, which now takes the price of a machine gun and goes, yeah, that machine gun that you could buy for $2,000 a week ago now is probably going to be $30,000, $40,000. I mean, I've seen certain machine guns go for $150,000. That's rare, but it happens, right? Even at the cheapest machine guns you can get your hands on right now, you're still looking at $4,000, $5,000.
And that's for a crap Uzi.
Well, I mean, not even just Uzis, but like PPSHs, right? Are the old beat up PPSHs are going for $3,000 or $4,000 sometimes. So, I mean, you're looking at and like old Walthers and stuff.
Right.
So you're looking at again, where they're restricting the availability of guns that they think are scary that could actually be used for defense against the government, which is the spirit of the Second Amendment, being restricted ever more to higher income individuals. And it is with the intention of keeping them out of the hands of the minorities that are generally going to be the lower income classes. The Brady Act also throws down with that, where it, again, with the assault weapons ban, now all of these lower classes can no longer get their hands on cheap, easily available AKs. They can't get their hands on cheap, easily available ARs. They can't get their hands on any of these cheaper, more easily manufactured guns because they have too many features that would make them an assault weapon. You can't import stuff, so now the price goes way, way up.
Right.
And
the only common semi-automatic available in the commercial market during the Brady years was an SKS.
Well, I mean, there were a few others, but they were a fair bit of garbage. I mean, they're really bad. There are a few out there. There were a few out there. There was even a few AR type guns that were still compatible with the AWB, with the Brady Act, that they look so bad.
All right, so you want to go through the list of firearms real quick?
Yeah, let's go through these and do it with the lens, as you're listening to them, do it through the lens of saying this is so that only the political and economic elites have access to this stuff.
Everything listed here is, as Monica Perez would call it, quote, resistance grade weaponry. Oh, put that out there. But all of the following rifles, copies, duplicates, variants, or altered facsimiles with the capacity of such weapons thereof. All AK types, AK, AK-47, AK-47S, AK-74, AKM, AKS, ARM, MAC-90, MISR, NHM-90, NHM-91, Rock River Arms, LAR-57 or 47, SA-85, SA-93, Victor Arms, AK-47, Vepper, Wasser 10s, and WUMs. And that also includes Sega AKs, Madi AK-47 and ARMs, Norenko 56S, 56S2, 848s, 868s, Polytechnica AK-47s, SKSs with detachable magazines.
So those terrible duckbill mags.
Yes.
What they're doing is they're actually naming all of the guns so that even if the manufacturer alters their construction of the weapon to comply,
the California compliant ones, or the New York compliant ones with the fixed magazine and the pin or the welded on threaded, or not threaded, the welded on how come my brain's not working at
the flash suppressors and
flash suppressor and flash hiders, that sort of thing. All AR types, including AR-10, AR-15, Alexander Arms, Overwatch plus 16, Armalite M15 22LR carbine, Armalite M15, Barrett Rec 7, Barrett AR-70, Black Rain Ordnance Recon Scout, Bushmaster ACR, Carbon 15, Bushmaster MOE, Bushmaster XM15, Chippewa Firearms, M4 rifles, Colt Match Target rifles, the Core 15 rifles, Daniel Defense M4A1, Double Dog Arms 15, Diamondback DB15, Double Star AR rifles, DPMS tactical rifles, DSA ZM4, HK MR556, High Standards Jesse James Nomad, Knights Armament SR15, Lanier L15s, MGI Hydra series, never heard of those. Mossberg MMR, Noreen Firearms, Olympic Arms, POF, Precision Firearms, Remington R15s, Rhino Arms AR, Rock River Arms, Sig Sauer XG516 and MCX, Smith & Wesson M&P 15 series, Stag Arms.
They banned 22s. They are banning 22s as an assault weapon.
Yeah. Ruger SR 556, Wyndham, Yankee Hill, And then it also mentions Barrett M107A1, M82A1, Beretta CXR Storm, Calico Liberty
The
Series.
Beretta Storm?
The Beretta. Yeah.
Oh my god.
The CTME Sportster, the
Set me.
Daewoo K1,
Do you know how hard it is to get your hands on a Daewoo?
Daewoo K1, K2, Max 1, Max 2, AR100, and AR100C.
I've actually been looking for a Daewoo K1 for ages.
FN, FAL, AR, or LAR, the 22 FNC 308 Match, L1, A1 Sportster, P90, Scars, the FS 2000s.
The
Galeo.
P90 is such a gimmicky gun, and they're going to say,
hold on.
oh, you can't have it.
Yeah, Galeo model ARs, High Point carbines, HK90, yeah, HK 91, 93, 94, PSG1, and the HK USC, the IWI Tavar, and the Galil Ace rifle, Keltec Sub 2000.
Galil.
Sub
An FS
2K.
2000? Really? We're gonna go. Okay.
Yeah, all the SIG rifles, the Springfield Armories,
Ugh.
the AUG, the Mini Tactical 14.
Wait,
All
they're
to-
actually
The Mini 14
That's what it says. Stormrigger and Cower, Mini 14 tactical rifles, the M14. All Thompson rifles, it says. And then it says Thompson, like there's 15 different Thompsons listed. Uzi Mini Carbine.
Makes me wonder if they say all Thompson rifles, if that means like the TC rifles or not.
I say I think they mean Thompson Center. Would be my assumption.
Right, but then
Thompson
you have
doesn't
like
exist anymore.
Right,
Yeah,
but then
it says all Thompson rifles, including the following: Thompson M1SB, T100D, T150D, T1B,
Thompson Center.
T1B,
Yeah.
100D. Yeah.
So they're basically saying Thompson can't exist.
Yeah. Uzi Mini Carbine, Uzi Model A Carbine, Uzi Model B Carbine, Valmet, M62S, M71, Victor Arms, Uzi Types, Weaver Arms, Nighthawk.
So they're going after everything that would be resistance grade. Everything that you could use to resist government incursion, that would be what they're banning.
Yeah. Christopher, tap the hat. All of the following pistols, copies, duplicate variants, and altered facsimiles with the capacity of any such weapon thereof. All AK types: Centurion 39 AK pistol, CC Scorpion pistol, Draco AK-47 pistol, HCR AK-47 pistol, the IO Hellpup AK-47 pistol, Crank-Off, Mini Draco, PAP, the Crank, all AR types, including American Spirit, AR-15, Bushmaster Carbine, Chippewa, Core, Daniel Defense, Double Star, DPMS, Jesse James Nash, or Jim James Nomad, Olympic Arms, Osprey, POF, Rock River, blah, 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 blah. You guys get it.
So anything that's configured as an AR pistol, essentially.
Well, I love when they say AR type, because it's like, well, how are you defining an AR type? Is it a rotating bolt? Because that's 95% of all semi-automatic rifles on the market. Or are you saying, well, it's got black plastic on it? Are you saying that what are you?
Not only that, but when you bring up
all belt fed semi-automatic firearms.
Well, at this point, if that passes, you might as well just get a belt-fed automatic rifle, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, they say any AR style rifle or pistol. What about things like the AR-7? Does that count? Because the AR-7 has a 7-round capacity.
Well, okay, hold on. The term large capacity ammunition device means any magazine, belt, drum, feed strip, or similar device, including any such device joined or coupled with another in any manner that has overall capacity of, and that can be readily restored, changed, or converted to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition, and does not include an attachable tubular designed to accept or capable of operating only with 22 rimfire ammunition. So you can have like a 22 lever action that can hold more than 10 rounds, but that's literally the only exception
Mm.
to having more than 10 rounds.
Yep.
So,
what it makes me wonder, what about a standard, as Uncle Joe always calls it, a pump action, get yourself a shotgun, right? I've seen some pump action shotguns out there that have 12, 13 round, 15 round capacity.
It counts a barrel shroud as an assault weapon characteristic.
I know, that makes me laugh so fucking hard because I'm like, wait. So what you're saying is that my ability to keep myself from burning my fucking hand on a hot barrel.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
okay.
that's essentially. Let's go back to this old legal Moses.
No. The term barrel shroud. The term barrel shroud means a shroud that is attached to or partially or completely encircles the barrel of a firearm so that the shroud protects the user of the firearm from heat generated by the barrel.
Exactly. So it's like literally you have to burn your hand on the gun.
Yeah.
So
in order
this Mosin,
that does not count because it is but does not include an extension of the stock along the bottom of the barrel which does not encircle or subsequently encircle the barrel.
But it does encircle the barrel right here.
But it's part of the stock.
Right, but it says that does not.
Yeah, but it does not encircle. That encircles the barrel.
This encircles the barrel up here.
No, does not include.
Yeah, it says does not include a stock, but it except those that encircle.
No, that is not a barrel shroud because it does not include that. It does not include an extension of the stock along the bottom of the barrel, which does not encircle or subsequently encircle the barrel.
The thing is, Jason, here, let me just pull this off here so you can see.
Well, it might be banned. I don't know.
It's from the words on that. It's saying that if that extension of the stock does encircle the barrel, it now becomes.
It bans grenade launchers.
See this right here? That's the part that encircles the barrel.
That would be legal. Once that's on there, it's not legal anymore.
Yeah. So it bans grenade launchers, guys.
Aren't those already banned?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I guess then I get all of my. Actually, technically, they're not.
You just have to register them as a DD.
Yeah, they're destructive devices. However, they are only destructive devices if they are 40 millimeter. If you get a 37 millimeter flare launcher, not a destructive device. So, but this is going to ban that.
Popsmoke.com, something like that. They use those.
Can get. You can get. Is it Spikes? Is it Spikes that makes the thumper?
I think so.
The 37 millimeter thumper. And you can get an M302. Should you be so inclined? Yeah. That's been done in 37 millimeter from the get-go. If it's a 40, it is in fact a destructive device. It has to, NFA registration and all of that fun crap. I am.
Don't forget the X Products can cannon.
Yeah, the cannon would be back. Fucking A, Jesus. It fires cans. Strictly speaking, even just T-shirt launchers, would fall under this ban. I mean, this is more aggressive, right? This is a more aggressive ban than the Brady Act was.
Oh, by far. Yeah. The good news, if you can call it that, is that it takes 60% to pass.
Yeah.
So,
and it's
unless they manage to blow away the filibuster, at which point it wouldn't. But
yeah,
I mean, I know how I'm going to vote.
Oh, I know how I'm going to respond to it too. So.
Oh yeah.
I know where.
This one here kind of explains the whole thing. I'm a Mandalorian. Weapons are part of my.
Do you think we could found the first church of Mandalore and claim religious
isn't there? Wasn't there
Would
a,
we
a
then have to?
church?
Would we
Isn't
then
there
have
a
to
church in
declare?
I want to say there's a church in Pennsylvania where they actually said that firearms are part of the religion. Right? There was the whole the sell your cloak line, sell your
Yeah.
cloak, buy a sword, and they took
But,
that to the extremes, and they were carrying guns in church. And there's like a video of them, like putting holy water on the rifles or praying over the rifles or something like that.
Would we then, Andrew? Should we create the first church of the Mandalore? Then would we then have to canonize or otherwise issue a sainthood to Saint Eugene Stoner and Saint Mikhail Kalishnikov?
Are we gonna talk about the gun Jesus?
He would get an automatic sainthood, but only after he dies.
To anyone. So if you,
Instead the Father, the Son, and Holy Ghost, it's Stoner, Kalishnikov, and John Browning.
Oh, praise the Lords and pass the ammunition.
No, I'm not a fan of Browning. I'd have to say, I would almost have to say Gaston.
You would.
Gaston Glock.
You would be playing with an M2 with a fully erect. Come on now.
Well, I'm not gonna deny that, but I've shot an M2, so it's not that big of a thing anymore.
I mean, it's the I'd take
Instant Wood is a G18. I'm just saying.
Yeah, an M1919, a Modus. I'd take those. I'd take it's
a Glock 18. Not gonna lie, Instant Wood.
Yeah, and the thing.
I'm not a Glock fanboy, but Glock 18, Instant Wood.
But anybody who's just listening, I have over my shoulder at all times when I do the show a poster of Gun Jesus. Why is this falling as I try to tilt it up? Do you see that shit? Okay, hang on.
It's bowing down to Gun Jesus.
Yes, right. It is. That is Gun Jesus. So that is Gun Jesus himself. That is Ian McCollum holding a copy of his book and an AR in his hands, and it's done as one of those Jesus shrine things. I have it in a lovely, like 4-inch thick oak frame mounted on my wall. And it is in a prominent place. That actually, I got that from Headstamp Publishing, who makes his books, or has published his book and stuff. But yeah, the that poster when it came out, he was like, "Oh God," and I'm like, "Dude, I am buying one." that is amazing.
In the name of Stoner, Kalishnikov, and Ian.
Saint Ian of McCollum. But it's, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like that's what we need to do at this point, just claim religious exemption. And but the thing is we know what happens when a church decides it's going to integrate a bunch of weaponry
man,
its religious practices. Is not
true.
Good. It does not work out well.
There are many entries, Fed Boy.
Yeah, life has many doors, Fed Boy.
Please don't drown us.
Yeah, dude, I'm wearing a rooftop voter t-shirt. All right, if anybody's gonna get fucking drowned.
Well, I mean, they can't see my whole t-shirt, but it's a picture of Killdozer, and it says "Tread on those who tread on you." But
there you go. Stairs and violent discuss.
Yeah,
I gotta bring this one out just because it's completely relevant.
There you go. So, all right. On that note, throw out your links. Let's get this over with.
All right, if you want a lovely, luxurious, soft, shiny, wonderful, good-smelling, non-itchy beard like I have, you should check out thebeardstruggle.com. They have tons of cool products to make your beard not only wonderfully petable and enjoyable, but it doesn't get itchy, it smells really nice, it stays very soft, you can keep it under control. If you decide you want to do that and take that leap, use the code InkedAnarchist15. That is InkedAnarchist15, all run together, at checkout. checkout, you get 15% off. If you enjoy sunglasses and really nice luxury watches for not a whole lot of coin that you want to have go with your wonderful beard, you can check out Valerio. That is shopvalerio.com. Use code InkedAnarchist25 at checkout, and you get 25% off of those products as well. Also, don't forget to check out our boy at Poppins Patches. He has some of the coolest patches I have ever seen. They're all very high quality. They are great colors. They're great durability. We are currently a week away from giving this sucker away, Thrawn's Laboratory. That is a Mandalorian reference. You guys should definitely enter that. In order to enter that, you need to leave a like on the video on YouTube or like the post on Facebook. Leave us a comment on YouTube and a comment on Facebook. Let us know that you want to be entered into the giveaway. Be sure to also like Poppins Patches Facebook page. And we'll, in a week, we'll pick a winner. I'll let you know who we wind up picking, and we'll send you a free patch. Also, don't forget about Derica's book. Think for yourself. It's a critical thinking workbook for beginners. It is a workbook for beginners. Workbook for beginners.
This means that you must actually engage with it. It is not something that you can just pick up and read. You have to actually work at doing it. I understand this may be difficult for the vast majority of the American public.
Well, see, if you're listening to us, that's why you need the book.
That's right. Now I'm not affiliated with the Beard Struggle, but I will say I recently got some Valhalla's Gate as opposed to Odin's Virtue, and I will say I love it. And my wife complains a lot less about the beard rides since going to the Valhalla's Gate. So I'm just saying.
So it is
all right.
It is a nice product. Buy it. Support me by doing it. It'll be great.
Yes. Make Andrew happy so he gives us more rants.
Yeah, and then I'll keep giving you cool history rants. Also, speaking of my rants, one last quick plug. Chris and I are going to be doing an upcoming video series and podcast to match it that is going to be on guns specifically and exclusively. Our very first episode is going to be what is a gun, and us discussing exactly what makes a gun, and go through guns throughout history and how they change. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be probably a few hours long. It's going to be very in-depth stuff. So if you guys want to learn more about weaponry, once that launches, we'll let you know. I'm still looking for somebody to do my opening stinger and a theme song for it. So,
yeah.
If you would like to volunteer, reach out.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay you for it. That's not going to happen. I will credit you. I will give you credit.
We will give you credit for
nothing
it.
Out of it
We won't pay you.
Yeah.
But the more you got to figure, the more exposure you get from the channel, then you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's still listening to us.
No, they gave up.
Yeah. So, on that note, I don't have anything else. You guys have anything else?
Nope.
Andrew has something else. No.
And the funny thing is Danny on the History Unloaded podcast does the same thing that I do, where it's like, okay, we're done. Hey, but one more thing. And it makes me laugh so freaking hard.
One of those ye olden days where you do PS, but like Andrew's like PS, PSSS, PSSSSS, PSSSSS, right? And then the PSs are longer than the actual letter. Yeah. So.
I have to send 12 postcards, not just one, so that I can get
on that note, I guess we'll catch you on the next one, huh? All right.
Peace.
Peace. All right, Christopher, you have to